Welcome to the San Clemente podcast, the only local podcast in the best beach town in the world. We're here to bring you weekly episodes highlighting everything from sports, culture, entertainment, politics, and everything else this beach town has to offer. Welcome to the San Clemente podcast, the fastest growing podcast in San Clemente, California. I'm Jeff Moore, your host, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Joining me today is my incredible co-host and partner, Brian De La Puente. Today we have a very exciting guest coming to you live from the studio in San Clemente, 2024 Sports Wall of Fame inductee, Tim Butler. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So let's kick us off a little bit, share a little bit about your story, maybe take us back to when you first came to San Clemente or how you were brought to San Clemente,
My parents moved here in 1953. I was born in 1950. I was 3 years old. And my dad was in real estate, so it was a good place to be. And so I just ended up going through the school system, all the different sports and stuff growing up. When Concordia Grammar School opened in 1955, I was a kindergartner there. When San Clemente High School opened in 1964, I was a freshman there. When Saddleback College opened in 1968, I was a freshman at Saddleback College.
That's insane. Starting off all three of those schools.
This is the epitome of why Brian and I wanted to start this podcast, was because of guys like you. And your stories are inspirational. You've been in and around San Clemente for your entire life, which dates back to the 50s. So the stuff you've seen is just, that's priceless. That's what we want to preserve.
100%. We were talking earlier about some of the records you still hold at San Clemente High School. The longest standing athletic record for the football program, 5 touchdowns versus Mission Viejo, 1967. Running back Tim Butler.
And one was called back.
Oh, man.
It was actually 6.
Holding? What was it? Was it the O-line's fault?
It was my best friend's.
Oh, no.
He was a fullback on the I formation, and he clipped.
Oh.
Yeah, he just not the right angle, and as he kicked out, and but heck, 5 is 5.
Do you remember?
And again, it wasn't just me. It was all those guys in the front line blocking and my best friend blocking out.
I'm sure those guys appreciate it. The little shout out.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember how many carries and all those kind of statistics that you had in those games?
Yeah, the Mission Viejo game, I think I had 23 carries for 222 yards.
That'll work.
Wow.
Did you ever get that?
Never, not even close. Maybe half that,
Yeah.
Jeff, I was still very proud of.
Jeff was I got to block for Jeff in high school.
Yeah.
So 68, Athlete of the Year, Homecoming King, and part of the San Clemente Football Hall of Fame. Those are 3. I don't think anybody else has those 3,
No, that's incredible.
So then fast forward 68, you're at Saddleback, the inaugural football season. We talked earlier, you gave us a little insight on the.
Well, I also have a record there.
Oh, okay.
And the record is, and it can't be broken. It was the first touchdown in the history of Gaucho football.
That's right. I love it.
Plus, a lot of people don't realize how Saddleback got their name Gauchos. Well, the backstory, real quick, was as the administrators would go around to the different schools that were going to be going to Saddleback, all the kids from the schools fill out surveys, about what colors they want, what, nickname they want, and just all kinds of, what kind of classes and all that. Well, in that survey, my football coach comes up to me, nudges me, and says, "Timmy, put down Gauchos." So I put down Gauchos, and 2 months later, I end up getting a $50 scholarship in books to my first semester at Saddleback.
That's great.
That's wild.
That's such a cool story.
There are so many things that we want to talk to you about. One of the things that I think you're passionate about is coaching. Have you been a coach your entire life? Kind of walk us through your story of being a coach here in South Orange County in San Clemente.
Well, I didn't do much coaching before I got out of college. My very first coaching job was at San Clemente in the spring before I got my my credential, and it was at San Clemente coaching the distance runners.
Okay.
And Jeff Hurlbut, who's a longtime standing resident, he was one of my runners, and we reminisce about that a lot. But that was my first coaching job, was in the spring. And within a month or so of the season ending, Danny Hills hired me as the head cross country and assistant track coach and teaching health and safety at Danny Hills. And that was not even a full-time job. It was only 3/5, but I said, I'll take it. I was looking for anything, especially to stay in the area, because I applied to 8 other school districts. Right. Nothing out of California, but it was a long, long way away. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to stay here because our family was here, and can't beat the weather. And so when I got the job, I said, fine. Within 6 weeks of the start of school, after 6 weeks, I was full-time. And because Danny Hills was a new school, and it was growing. I mean, literally, they hired a whole new set of teachers at Danny Hills, 2 years in a row, and I was the second year.
Was it 2 years, the school 2 years old?
Yeah, but I think at Dana, they had the freshman, sophomore, juniors the first year.
Gotcha.
I don't know if there were any seniors. There might have been sporadic seniors, but when it got started, it was in the fall of 72.
Gotcha, okay.
But most people didn't realize that the transition they made from San Clemente to adding Danny Hills, they had double sessions one year. And so in those double sessions, San Clemente would go in the morning and Danny Hills went in the afternoon. But during that...
Elaborate on that. I'm double sessions meaning what?
Meaning...
Like a class?
Yeah. So they went in the afternoon. They ended up about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
But because the facility at Dana was not completed yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
After Christmas vacation, they moved in to their facility. So the first semester of Danny Hills was at San Clemente.
Gotcha.
And then they moved after Christmas vacation. The facility was done, and they moved into Danny Hills.
Gotcha.
But I wasn't there that year.
Okay. Did they compete against each other while they were sharing a campus? Was that the part of the league?
I believe so, because
that'd be weird.
We were in the Orange League, Irvine League, Crestview League, and then South Coast League started in the mid '70s sometime.
Okay.
But we were in different. There were different leagues, or we changed our league, but San Clemente and Danny Hills were pretty much in the same league.
Okay.
That's wild. Yeah. Brian and I are both active in our community and both coaches in Little League and flag football. Share with us some of your secrets or just some tips that you can share with us younger coaches that are kind of just getting started in our coaching.
Those secrets. We need the secret.
We
talked about the secret.
We did, exactly. Again, we love coaching. Yeah. We love helping these young kids. So if you can teach us anything.
It's not really something that's eye-opening or anything. I think when you look at whether it's no matter what level, high school, college, or pro, there's a culture. And this culture is really what fuels the success. And what I found, the most successful approach to coaching has been what I call transformational. And that basically means that everything, the priorities are not conditioning. It's not the physical part of it, but it's the heart part of it. It's the relational part. And most coaches miss that. They think when I go to clinics, coaches, they're all eager and ready to write down the secret workout that I have. And when I start talking about how important relationships are and how the motivation level rises when that is the most important thing, they all glaze over like, like a deer in a headlight. Like, no, I want a secret weapon. I want this perfect workout. And it's not, because my approach is developing a relationship first, a healthy relationship. And once that's established, you can build a trust. But the best thing about the transformational, as opposed to transactional, which is all about stats and winning and all that, is that these boys will learn life skills to become better sons, to become better fathers, to become better husbands, to become better friends, to become better people in the community. And so, because it's transformational, it carries, all the way through their life. And, for me, that's what coaching is all about. It's not coaching a sport, but it's coaching a life.
What are some good ways for some of the coaches out there that may be listening, for them to, what are some good ideas to help them build relationships with these kids? Is it about asking questions? How do you get to,
It's interesting because for about 5 years, I taught a graduate class at Concordia University. And one of the things that became one of the most important items in my classes was the idea of what I call a conference or an interview that we go through. I go through with as many of my athletes as I possibly can. If I have a team of 50, I can usually only get to a dozen, maybe 20, every year. But all of them take the survey and they write it down, but there's only about 15 or 20 that I actually get to go over with them, and some of the questions are basically, what's your favorite subject? What are your favorite activities? Who are your parents? What do they do? How old are they? Where are they from? What do they value most in life? You ask questions to get a little picture inside their real soul. But then there's the 4 H's, okay, that I ask them, and this is the best one. I ask them what their greatest hope is. In other words, what's their goal? If they wanted the world the way they want, what would it look like? What would their world look like? I mean, highlight, in their life, what's the time where they felt they were on top of the world, that life couldn't be any better? And it's usually an event. Then there's a heartache, something where they've shown disappointment, embarrassment, or brokenness. And 4 H's. Now I forgot the 4th.
That's good. We'll come up with it.
And the most important, hero. Ooh. Who's their hero? And not only who their hero is, but why is that person their hero? So you're getting, again, another picture into their real soul and their real motivation. Right. So those 4 H's, I ask these kids, and you get to know them much better that way. And when you ask those questions, most of them are honest. And you'll find most of them will say their heroes are their parents. Right. Okay? Some of them are not honest with these answers, but you just have to, go on. But most of them are pretty honest. And with their life experience, most of the time it's just like the biggest disappointment was their dog dying or something. You know what I'm saying? Right. It wasn't, my house got ruined by a tornado or, things like that. Tragic, really.
But through these questions, you're developing the foundation of a good relationship with these young adults, these young kids, and that's going to open them up. That's the secret, the 4-H's, which we didn't get out of him earlier.
Right. No.
I wanted to start taking notes there for a second, but I'm like, wait, we've got it recorded, so I can go back and listen to that.
Well, I'm
That's
glad I remembered all 4 of them, because if you take an aptitude or acuity test, I wouldn't pass it. I was just a football player. I've been hit in the head too many times.
Here's a question about the 4-H's. You spent majority of your coaching in the running track world.
Yeah.
Is there a different mentality than maybe like a football? Because you played both. So I know running, there's a lot of like probably guttural, like digging deep and finishing this race. Whereas football, you might have that on a drive or a certain game, but it's not as much of that like inner battle. At least it wasn't for me. Maybe in conditioning tests and those kind of things, but those are around running, right? So do you think that it translates between sports or?
Yeah, about 80% of what I do can be in any sport. A lot of over the years,
right.
Coaches have come up to me, why don't you coach football with us, But I think, the reason why I named my book The Authentic Runner is the integrity or the personal honesty that I think comes out most in running or most individual sports.
Sure, it's like stripped. It's stripped down.
Yeah, you can't hide in right field.
Right.
You can't hide in left guard.
Right.
You can't hide in running, but you can in other sports.
Right.
And so, that's
I like that.
Yeah,
it's
I do too.
It's like the stripped down raw version.
But you have to understand that if you're going to be the best that you possibly can be, you have to be honest with yourself.
Right.
And what I do all the time is when kids race, we go over the plan for each one of them, particularly the varsity, this is your role, this is what you need to do. And then afterward, we have a post evaluation. Okay, what did you do? What didn't you do? How can you do it better? Type thing. There's a debriefing.
Right.
And that's, again, part of the education and the being honest.
Right.
And I think the kids get that, and they need to start doing that with not only their sports, but with their life.
Right.
Because I kid with the kids all the time about, they're just not very smart. They got undeveloped brains, and they're not going to be very smart until they get to be 25, at least with the boys. So we kid about that a lot, and that gives them an excuse. Like when they say something or do something stupid, I'm going, guys, you just proved your undeveloped brain. Hello. It's not like I yell at them and say, you're idiots or whatever. But basically, I'm just saying, you'll get there, but right now, you did something pretty stupid.
You got some work to do.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Talk to us a little bit.
But you know what?
Yeah.
We were like that.
Sure.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about before the podcast too about how the kids have changed over time. I wanted to dig back into that just a little bit.
I'll tell you. I think one thing, a lot of people, when I tell them I've been around since 53, they go, well, man, you've seen a lot of change here in San Clemente. And I go, yes, I have, but not what you think. Yes, there's more buildings. Yes, there's more people. Yes, there's more traffic. No. All those are definitely, but you know what? In my opinion, I think the thing that has changed the most has been affluence in this area. Growing up, it's like every one of my friends had a job at 12 years old, whether it was papers or mowing lawns or doing something. They were all, now the kids, I can't work until I'm 25 years old, or type thing. It's against the law. I'm going, You mean you can't work for your uncle,
Sure.
plumbing or something,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I think the affluence, the kids have way more money and way more free time. And so because of the money, they just get into all kinds of stuff that,
And I mean,
But you were going to ask.
I had a question. That's a great question, Jeff. My thought went to talking about like a post game. You called it a debrief. What can you talk on? I don't know the gamesmanship and strategy of cross country. Can you talk on that? Just like something super basic. Hey, how's the team set up? How many teammates? In my head, it's Jeff. I'm trying to beat everybody, but is there gamesmanship to it and strategy?
There is, but most people don't see it. They don't understand it. The intricacies, because there are, but I think it's simpler than, I admire football guys because they're making calls right on the spot.
Right.
Okay, where we've done all that we're going to do, and the kids just need to get out there and execute. The only thing, I might do is say something like, stay close to your teammate, or, you got to pick it up a little bit, or right. Something like that. It's really minor. But the intricacies of strategy
right.
is as you see the kids train and you find out what their weaknesses and what their strengths are, mentally what they need to work on, you integrate that into the race plan. And there is a race plan. There's always a race plan.
Okay.
And you'll usually have your first person to say, okay, go out and pull your rest of your teammates along. Then you'll have a couple other guys. Like this year I had a couple of twins that, ran pretty close to each other. And so you just say, okay, just stay on each other's, tail,
yeah.
Stay close. And then, where they stay attached, is I found one of the best strategies. Okay. Some teams don't have that because they don't have as much talent,
right.
Comparative talent. It'll be stretched out where, guys are way slower than other guys. But the main thing in our races has been working off each other. Okay. And if our third man is there, make sure our fourth man is this far from them. So
how many, like on varsity race?
7. But 5 score.
5 score.
So 5 are the most important. So when you have a couple of the guys in the top 5 don't have good races, that's why you need a 6th and a 7th man.
Gotcha.
And believe me, in my experience, those 6th and 7th men have made huge differences. Huge.
Right.
And especially in big races.
Yeah.
So
some of these meets, it'll be multiple schools. You're not going.
Oh yeah.
They
don't do dual meets anymore.
Gotcha.
No, yeah, they stopped that about almost 20 years ago, right. 15 years ago.
I know San Clemente has the course where you got to go up by the SC. We used to run those. Do you remember what those were called? What coach used to call those?
It wasn't a nice word.
No. He used to call them if you miss class or were late or something.
Yes.
He called them opportunities. Do you remember that? You got an opportunity to get better.
Exactly.
And you had to run the hill. And then you did it. We had to do it like a couple times. It wasn't that big of a deal. But
that hill.
Then you see the cross country guys come by.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh crap. Those guys are like that's so is there home field advantage at San Clemente?
No, because we don't do dual meets anymore.
But will you host a meet where it's
No. We're looking towards that. And that's, you see, when I was at Dana, the second year is when I started the Dana Hills Invitational.
Okay.
And that ran for over 40 years.
Oh, killer.
And the first couple of years, we lost a couple $100, but after that, we were making literally $25,000 to $30,000.
Right.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
So how much of the success is coming then from the preparation?
95%. Okay, how you prepare. And I think that's where the coaching comes in, because most of my parents, when they have something nice to say about me, it's usually negative. because they say you kick my kid's butt.
Sure.
And you make them do something that they don't want to do, and that's the sign of a good coach.
Right.
When you can get the kids doing something they don't want to do.
Right.
Okay, somehow motivate them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so getting them to in training, there are three principles. One is overload. The other is irreversibility, which is basically doing it consistently. And then you have specificity. And so we have, and I developed it at Dana, but at San Clemente, we have what we call our Mount SAC special. And that's, Mount SAC is really hard. It's a really hard course. And so basically what they do is they run at Mount SAC, they run a flat mile. Then they go up these switchbacks, okay? And then they go up another hill on the second mile that's really steep. The switchbacks aren't, but then you have one last hill in the last mile. So you have basically a flat, and then you have hills, and then you have about an 800 flat again to finish. So we have a specific workout that we go all out in a mile, we rest for a few minutes, then we do repeat hills, whatever they might be, and then we come back on the track and we do another mile all out. So it's very specific. And so the reason why I was on the Mount SAC Hall of Fame is because I realized early in my career how important Mount SAC was, because it was not only just good to do at the Invitational, but you had to run that twice before you get to the state meet, because that's where the CIF prelims and finals were held. So preparation.
There you go.
Doing in our workouts, being specific, the specificity, you prepare. But again, to be able to mentally go through what they do in practice, knowing that they've got all these hills, knowing that they've still got another mile on the track to go all out, is all preparation mentally and physically.
And I ask that question because we talk about it all the time, right? Being prepared. A lot of people don't. They don't come prepared in many areas of life. And so to hear that is great.
But the parents, the thing that they say the most is, you just demand a lot of my kid. And they like that.
Yeah.
Demanding something from them. Mm-hmm. The programs that aren't very good don't demand. Okay? I don't know whether they're just afraid of not being liked or whatever, but I never had that problem.
Right.
I don't have any friends,
No, but I think you'll agree, right? A good coach will last and stick with you for your entire life. So as a parent, how stoked are you when you have a coach that is impactful in a great way to your son? You know that that's helping shape their lives.
Sure. Yes.
And the same probably goes for a bad coach.
Yeah, that's true.
I think coaches in general are all trying to do good.
100%
but I
for sure.
Maybe not.
I might disagree with you.
I'm gonna take that a little bit back. But when in hindsight, I've played a lot of sports. There's only a handful of coaches that I really remember that had an impact outside of, hey, use this technique, hey, use like the results-driven coaches. There's only a handful that are very transformative for me. And if you can be that or try to be that, you can have a lot of impact on people's lives, which is a unique teacher coach and parents are probably the two figures in your life that can have those. Maybe in church, somebody in a church setting.
Well, that's what I was going to add. I mean, the main reason my coaching style has to do with relationships is because of my relationship with Jesus Christ. Right. And that's the one that impacts me the most. Because I talk to him every day. I listen to him every day. And as I do that, that whole idea of transformation comes through his word and through prayer. And those are the things that makes me the person I am, although I'm not always measuring up,
Right.
you know, because I'm a sinner and I blow it a lot. But that relationship is not broken.
Right. And you lead by example, right?
Yeah. And help the kids understand how important relationships are. Because every single day, I say, okay, guys, let's get going. Do it together. Have some fun. But do it together.
Yeah.
Together.
I just want to, Jeff, I want to read a couple.
Yes. I was going to say I could go.
What
again,
are you Coach Butler to all the kids?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to read Coach's. So
it's not Butler. They don't call me Butler.
No?
They call me Coach Butler.
Coach Butler.
Yeah.
And you correct him.
Yes, I correct him.
Early.
Yes.
First day. No, it's Coach Butler.
It's Coach Butler.
I still have coaches that call me whatever. No, you are Coach.
There we go.
Yeah, it's a sign of respect. It's all that stuff. So Dana Hills, 73 to 2015. This is just Dana Hills. 4 state championships, 5 CIF championships, 23 league championships, 37 consecutive CIF appearances. That's and then
just
you
at
retired.
Dana Hills.
Then we got you back at your alma mater.
Yay.
And so starting in 2017. So these numbers are a little off because they were stopped in 2022 for my numbers, but we've got 2. The cross country program had never won any of CIF state, any of that stuff until we got Coach Butler. 2 CIF championships since you got there in 17, 1 state title, first one for San Clemente. That was just this last year, correct?
State championship.
2023 state champion.
Yes.
You guys placed 7th in the country at the Nike Nationals.
In 22.
22. Did you go back in 23?
And we were 8th in the nation.
Very cool. So that resume we talked about.
Can I say something on the national thing?
Yes, please.
Nike puts it on. It's the Nike Cross Nationals. Nike spends $7 million that weekend.
Wow.
This is what they do. This is the Super Bowl of high school cross country. Number 1, they send a coach and 7 kids free flight to Portland.
What an experience.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
They feed them for 4 days for free. They house them at the embassy suites 4 days for free. They give them $800 worth of product. And the best thing about it, this is the best thing, there is no sport, high school sport, that determines a national championship head-to-head. They're all mythical, aren't they?
Yep.
We get the best 22 teams in the nation because of by qualification on the same line, in the same conditions, along with 50 individuals. So there's 200 kids in a race, the best in the whole nation, because they have to qualify. And they get them in the same race and determine a national championship.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable.
Do you think that's spearheaded by Phil Knight himself? Because I read his book Shoe Dog, and that he was very much the runner. The cross country was his passion.
I don't know if it actually comes from him, but it's definitely the best PR you can ever do, the best stuff you can do to have lifelong Nike buyers.
Sure. I think that's insane. That's
because,
so cool.
I love it.
Their materials are quality, but when we were at Dana, there were only 5 teams in the nation, high school teams, that were sponsored by Nike. High school teams, they do college, but high school, and we were one of them.
Wow.
But it wasn't until we became
recognized, probably,
successful.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've been to Oregon. You've been to these events that you've been.
Well, they've been going 18 years, and I have been 12.
Wow.
With my teams or individual. Yeah.
At Dana, what were some of the? Did you guys have finishes in the top like that?
Oh yeah, we were on the podium once,
Awesome.
and that was our last year in 2015. We were 3rd.
Cool.
So we were on the podium. We got a big giant trophy with a, the way the wing is on a shoe or
Sure, the swoosh.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. And so we got our trophy. But our first year, I think we were about 12th.
Okay.
Maybe, and then other years we were 19th, but then we were 6th and 5th, and just
Right.
But the experience for the kids, think about that.
it-
That's
no.
life changing.
It's the next year. I mean, that's what motivated this year's team, wanting to go back. They said, "Hey,
was great.
we get the free stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. We get the
We
perks.
get the free stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We get the swag.
they
We
get
Give 'em a
treated.
couple
They get
shirts.
treated like kings and queens. I'll tell you.
oh,
And again, the girls' teams, 22 teams, and it's it's unbelievable.
Yeah. What a cool event. You
Yeah.
said that's in Portland?
Yeah,
Is
where
it?
their headquarters is.
mhm.
Oh, it's in, okay. So it's
Yeah.
at their facility.
Well, this is on a golf course.
Okay.
And if I had a picture of that golf course, which I do, I'd show you. But this golf course is
Next level.
blows your mind. I mean, it's
Really?
got hills, but it's got these fir trees that are literally 150 feet high, all over the place.
It's just gorgeous.
Green. Oh, it's an unbelievable
Did
venue.
you have to ever have any of those in weather? Like,
Oh yeah, we got to the line one time and it started snowing.
really?
Oh yeah,
Not just the wet Northwest.
The rain is the worst. I
Yeah.
mean, because almost every year we're running in something that's soggy.
Ugh.
But no, it started snowing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but so these beach kids are freezing,
Yeah.
and they talk about you can't prepare the kids for that.
No.
You can't.
No.
I can remember playing up in Seattle and it being 34, 5 degrees, raining.
Oh,
You go out for warm-ups and you get wet.
yes,
And then
and you stay wet the whole time.
and you're like, I
freezing.
can't warm up.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'd rather play we played in a game at Soldier Field in Chicago. It was snowing. It was cold. It was probably in the teens. I'll take that.
Ah,
It was dry
really?
than the wet. Because as a center, I have to deal with the ball.
Yep.
So it creates a whole nother level of
Yep.
paranoia and
Yep.
anxiety. But
Yep.
you're like, this is miserable. It's
Yeah.
freezing. It's wet,
Uncomfortable.
cold.
Yeah.
I'll take the low teen digits and dry.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine running in it. Just getting just the whole time.
Frigid.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yes.
Cold
Yeah,
fingers.
it's
Cold
cold.
feet.
Yeah.
What a fun experience.
It
Everyone's
was
in the same
awesome.
conditions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
A couple of years we had pretty good conditions.
Yeah.
In fact, the one year that we were on the podium, but the neat thing about it was that year, California went 1-3-7,
Okay.
and Great Oak was first.
Okay.
They were national champs, and then we were third, and then what was the other team? I forget.
Are there perennial powerhouses like nationally?
There are, but it's mainly because of the coach.
Gotcha.
It's the coach in cross country, definitely the coach. And I do need to qualify my accomplishments at San Clemente. I'm not the head coach.
Okay.
I'm just the trainer.
Gotcha.
Dan Johnson is the head coach, and he got California Coach of the Year for that first year that we won
Awesome. Congrats.
CIF. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
so
amazing.
I'm just the assistant. I
Humble.
like being that.
That's
I don't want to be the
right.
head coach.
So, what advice would you give to the 40-year-old Coach Butler?
That's a deep one, Jeff.
That is, you're almost stumping me. I would say probably the first thing is emphasize more the relationships. Do a better job on the relationships. The second thing is probably I can't think of anything else.
I think it's so
do a better job of relationships.
So, if you could rewind 30
Yeah.
years from now, 40 years from now, you
Yeah.
would just do a better job building relationships. That's
Yep.
crazy because, again, we talk about that. Relationships is what it's all about, no matter
But the
what it
world
is.
doesn't look at it that
They
way.
should,
They
though.
look,
Would you
they
agree?
look at results.
But
That's
would you agree that they
Oh,
should
yeah.
look at?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about
But-
that. And
but-
anything, sports, business,
Yeah.
politics, you name it,
But
religion, you name
You've
it.
got to understand, if you believe that we were created by God, God made us that way.
Right.
That's the way we were created, because he wanted a relationship with us.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about his relationship with us. So, it's inbred in us. It's innate
Absolutely.
in us to desire relationships. And people who don't, see, this is my strength. But for some people, it's really hard. And I feel for those people that don't see it as important as the actual outcomes. But we know in life, billionaires are laying in their bed. They're ready to die. Do they ask for their lights in neon lights, in Times Square? Or do they ask for, their yacht to be there? What are they asking for?
Their family, their
Relationships.
friend. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what when you get down to bare bones, that's what human beings, because they're built that way. And people will deny that, but that's the way we're made.
And I don't know how anybody could ever deny it. I look at any business deals that are done, and at the end of the day, it always goes back to relationships.
Yep.
It's a people business. My dad used to say, he's like, I'm not in the mortgage or real estate I'm in the people business.
Yep.
I'm not a coach.
Yep.
I'm in the relationship building business,
Now,
and that's unique.
There are exceptions when you're just a researcher, where you're just dealing with germs and all that all day, or maybe even tax people. I mean, they're always throwing
they're in
numbers
the-
around, but they have
The
to
nitty gritty
they
and the
have-
weeds of the taxes.
Yeah.
Just to learn a little bit more about you, what does a day in the life look like? Are you, when you're not working, are you at the beach? Are you going out
Oh,
to restaurants?
man.
What are you doing around town?
Well, first of all, the best thing about retirement was getting rid of all the stuff I didn't like and doing the stuff I liked. One of the first things I liked was getting up late. I am not an early riser. I have so many friends that are early risers, and their day's all done by 10 o'clock, where, I get up about 8 or 9 o'clock regularly. Okay. Sometimes, like on Monday mornings, we have our long runs. So we're on the
Beach
trail.
trail? Yeah.
the beach trail at 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
But and then Friday mornings I lead a Bible study for coaches. But other than that, mornings get up about 8 or 9, have my coffee, maybe a little oatmeal, maybe watch a half hour of Let's Make a Deal. I love watching people win. I love winning. So, and then do my devotions
Uh-huh.
with God.
Uh-huh.
And then makes phone calls to other coaches or friends or kids or whatever before practice in the afternoon. And after practice, I'll talk with a couple kids, see, because every day, the physical touch I think is good. And so I fist bump them and I look them in the eye every day. Okay, that's important. Just, the fist bump is just some kind of touch, but the eye, is like, Danielson.
Sure.
Look in eye, Danielson. Look in eye.
Yeah.
Oi. And so I look them in the eye and I fist bump them, and that's part of that trust thing.
Right.
And then I go home, and my wife usually fixes me a wonderful dinner, and we watch TV for a couple hours. Mainly, about 80% of it is sports. My wife she's fantastic because she likes to, because she was a cheerleader in high school. She was Girl of the Year in high school. She was the best cheerleader at the cheerleader camp she went her senior year. I mean, she's such a quality person. But we'll sit and watch sports, most of the time, and we'll go over to the Iversons and watch games, you know?
Yep.
And then we'll head to bed. Maybe catch an hour of Fox News or something, or CNN, something like that.
Sounds like a great day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sounds
it's
like a
awesome.
great day. Any movies that you recommend
Oh,
Or shows.
or shows? Yeah.
We're looking for. My wife and I are looking for a new show.
gosh. Movies. One of my favorites, of course, is Chariots of Fire. That's an old one, but it was an Academy Award winner, and it was about Eric Liddell. And I've read all 8 biographies that have been written about him. He's kind of like one of my favorite heroes. Not only was he quite an athlete, but quite a Christian. And knowing that he was born in China and he ended up dying in China as a missionary in an internment camp, Japanese internment camp, but the quality of life that he had during those 15 years or so in that internment camp touched thousands of lives because of his example for God. But, okay, you know, I think Unbroken is awesome because, not because of what he suffered through, because that's what Jolene showed. It was all the suffering.
Right.
There was 60 years of his life that movie didn't show. And that was what I've featured in my book about character and what he did after he got back, had PTSD, he had nightmares, drinking like a fish, couldn't get rid of the nightmares. And he went to a Billy Graham crusade, got saved, never had a nightmare after that, shared his story about his suffering and how Christ, simply gave him purpose and joy the rest of the 60 years where he went to conferences and spoke about his ranch that he established for troubled boys and just all kinds of things. What he did, and went back to Japan to reconcile with the bird. Did you never saw the movie? Well, the guy that tortured him every day in the camp.
Yeah.
And, just things like that. He was such an example.
Thank you for listening in. Join us for another episode next week, coming to you from our studio on Del Mar in downtown San Clemente. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the San Clemente Podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode.